those crystals move energy extremely rapidly. In the muscle tissue, in the cellular matrix, in the crystal matrix of muscle, a signal moves at the speed of 300 meters per second. Think about that for a second. That's 300 yards per second. That's how rapidly something happens. And if you have an acupuncture-like effect, or if you have a little blockage of that energy that's causing you a little discomfort, sometimes that quick rush of energy through that medium, through those tissues, can clear it. I've seen people who have had pain disappear literally in 5 seconds. Now, deeper pains, musculoskeletal pains, arthritis, that sort of thing, that may take longer to go away. And with the QRS, even at the higher settings, it could take upwards of 6 weeks for some problems to feel better. Okay, well, I hope that's enough discussion about the technical. Anybody else have any questions?
You were Dr. Pollack?
Yes.
You were talking about the interference areas, such as scar tissue, injury, surgery, scars for the meridians. Will the QRS actually permanently unblock them?
It could theoretically, although again with scar tissue, I don't normally see that happening with like one treatment. We do know, and there have been reported cases of scar tissue, literally like keloids or what we call hypertrophic scars, where the scar is very thick and ropey-like. If you continue to treat it with a magnetic field over several months, that scar will actually do what we call remodel. It can actually blend back into the background. It's still a scar, but it can often totally melt back into the background of the body.
Are these things, a lot of the things you were discussing, included in your book?
No.
Oh, they're not?
There's a bunch of different sources of information. The Cure folks disseminated a bunch of information that comes with the mattresses when you get the mattress. And then there are other materials that has available to you depending on your needs. My book is more scientific. It's really not a lay book. It's not a novel. You can't read it like that. It's got a lot of tables and a lot of scientific information in it. It really is something that you go back to over and over and over again. I still go back to it over and over again. It's a lot of information about the different conditions that magnetic fields have been used for and different kinds of magnetic fields. So it's a primer. Sometimes it helps you to understand how many treatments you need and what field strength you need for a particular problem. And it will in some cases tell you that it didn't work. And in some cases will tell you that it did work. So from that respect, if you're very serious about magnetic fields, you're very interested, and you want more technical information, and you want more clinical information, that is the proper resource for you.
Okay.
And you can order one, you can get one from Bodyfield. Just call up and ask them for one.
Okay. I have one other question, because you were talking about feet, and Morton's neuroma, which is like a cyst or a tumor off a nerve in the ball of the foot, or some people have it in both feet. Would you use the same treatment with a pillow circling the foot?
Yes, unless what you could do, actually, Morton's neuroma would be a lot easier if it's a local area. The easiest thing to use would be the pen.
And does the pen come with the unit?
No, you have to purchase it separately.
Okay.
But it would be very local treatment. What you could do instead, if it tends to be more on the bottom side of the foot versus the top side of the foot, you would put the pillow at the bottom side, and that's all you need. With neuropathy, the problem with neuropathy is like diabetic neuropathy. The whole foot's involved.
Right.
So that's where you would use the cylinder kind of effect.
Right. It's only in one foot, and it does not involve the whole foot. It almost seems to be getting better. I just thought with a treatment like this, it would speed it up even more.
Yeah, and I think you could. And what you could do when you talk about the cylinder, when I talk about the cylinder, it's like you're creating a hoop. But you can take the foot, or the hand for that matter, and you can bend the pillow back right over onto itself. So it's not really a cylinder so much as a leaf that folds over. You don't want to fold the end too sharply, because you don't want to break the coils in it.
Okay.
Alright, so you just make sure that it does like a U-turn, more like the end of a paper clip.
Okay.
But don't try to press it down.
Alright.
And what you can do is that when it folds back on itself, the edges of it, that's where you could put your hand, where there's no gap then. So in this case, if you put your foot there, you could put the pillow up against the wall or something and put your foot in there right toward the edge where it doesn't loop around, the open end part of it.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, and in that case for a neuroma, again, I would recommend what I like to do is I like to use a general body treatment at least for 8 minutes, at least twice a day. So if you do the 8 minutes on the whole body, then what you do is the rest of the treatment is for the local problem. In the case of the neuroma, you really need about 16 to 24 minutes at the highest setting. Unless you happen to be exquisitely sensitive to feel, to energy, to light, to medications, then you may not want to start at 10 right away. You may want to start at 5. And then gradually move it up to 10 as you find you can tolerate it.
10 setting.
Okay, so using that pillow idea of folding it over, again, you can use it for any body part. You can use it for an elbow, a wrist, a carpal tunnel syndrome. Magnetic fields are very, very good for carpal tunnel syndrome. That's mild. Very, very severe carpal tunnel syndrome is less likely to be responsive, although it could respond, but it may take quite a bit longer. So you could use it, you could wrap the pillow around a shoulder in either direction. You can wrap it around the neck or the back of the head. You could wrap it around the side of the chest. Say for example, if somebody has a broken rib, we have a distributor who started early on and became very committed to the QRS because he had shingles on his chest from the back to the front around one of the ribs, following one of the ribs. He had a tremendous response from wrapping the pillow around his chest, and he got to a high setting, rapidly in order to create the maximum response to get at those nerves.
Okay. Well, I better get off so somebody else can ask a question, but I'll be back if you're still there.
Okay, so press star 6 star.
Will do. Thank you.
Next question.
Are there any vitamins or supplements that would work synergistically with the QRS pad? And would those vitamin supplements change with conditions?
Yeah, obviously, using vitamins and herbs and other things together depends on the problem that you have. So any generalized vitamin is a good idea in general to create increased cellular health. If you are healing tissues, if you have a bad ulcer, if you have a big old ulcer, the body is going to need nutrition. The body is going to need energy and other help in order to heal itself. You cannot accelerate the body beyond its own capacity to heal. If you happen to be wiped out, were in the hospital for several months, and got into what we call a protein deficient state as a result of being in the hospital, then it's going to take a lot longer for tissue to heal in a body that's been depleted like that. That doesn't mean you can't, but it's just going to take longer than a young, healthy person who has more vigor and whose system tends to cycle more rapidly. As we get older, our growth hormone levels tend to decrease, which is one of the reasons that people, as they get older, tend to take longer to heal than a very young person who has very, very strong or very high levels of growth hormone. Some people recommend, if you're healing tissues, some people recommend using that HGH compound, human gonadotropic hormone, and maybe somebody on the line can help me. I'm having some lapse in memory here.
Quantron
But it's
resonance
let's call this